Well, I'm finding I've just started using Facebook for the school, and Facebook is is friendly to the photos that are on my iPhone. But if I go to Google, usually the pixels are not right. You know, do you know what I'm? Of course, you know what I'm saying.
The resolution is too low or too high, or
Well, they say it's too large and it has to be reduced, and I don't know how to take a Google picture and reduce it,
I'll
so that it measures differently.
if you tell me what size you need it, I'll do that for you.
Yeah, your birthday is a defense against the truth.
Oh,
On that opening note,
well, we're doing that one. All right.
the
Have fun in your idolatry revelry.
Yeah,
really
exactly.
the this lesson's pretty tricky because I mean it's probably one of the most powerful lessons I think in the book, and it seems really specific in terms of forms of sickness. And I think a lot of this lesson is talking about forms of sickness, except there ain't no forms of sickness. I mean, they're all a reflection of the inner sickness. And so it was easy to use this lesson. In fact, Chris did it to me when I was in Rapid City, and I had bad back problem like John does today. For a month I had it. I don't wish that on anybody. But Chris said, "Well, sickness is your back is a defense against the truth." I'm like, "Oh,
Mary and I were,
you don't remember saying that?"
yeah, Mary and I were tormenting you with
that's
that.
right.
Remember
that? So
ganging up on you.
Yeah, in the early days, well, I imagine it's still done, but of course we don't do it anymore. But in the early days, a lot of course students would like go visit somebody in the hospital that was a course student and say, "Well, sickness is a defense against the truth. Just get up and leave the bed." And they're like, "I'm dying here."
Yeah.
So this mixing up of levels is really key in this lesson, I think. And one of the ways I think, well, that's helpful for me not to mix the levels up and to realize the only sickness is in the mind is to back up to, well, in this case, go forward to page 18 in the manual. And in the manual, section 5, How is Healing Accomplished, really addresses where the sickness is at always, what the sickness is always, and then what to do about it. So, I mean, we start with the forms of sickness, but just thinking I'm a body is sick. It doesn't matter whether I think I'm a healthy body or a sick body, thinking I am a body is the sick thought. So, I mean, there's not relative forms of sickness when you think you're a body. Just thinking your body is sick. That's the sick thought, meaning it's not real,
Separate.
but I'm invested in it. And I'm invested in it because I want to believe that the pain I'm feeling is coming from something, an emotional thing, a physical thing, or whatever. And he's saying, don't beat ourselves up. Don't get out of the hospital bed and leave it. If you've got an issue, a body issue, respect the issue, take whatever medicine you need, but don't believe that's the issue. I mean, it feels like the issue, and if your lower back is hurting, it's easy to identify. Physical pain can get pretty intense. I mean, I think just when it gets that bad, take whatever it is to relieve the physical pain, and then go do the course. That's my approach. Because I mean, when my back was, well, in this case it was my arm, but less physical pain I had was so severe that when I was caught up in it, I couldn't think about anything else. I couldn't read the course. I mean, it was screaming. It was screaming, and it was nonstop screaming. It wouldn't stop screaming. And
I was just going to say that on the opposite end of the spectrum, we can also use the physical body and the fact that we're healthy and we don't take medicine as pride, and it often gets used mistakenly as pride, meaning I'm spiritually I'm advanced because I don't have aches or pains, or I don't get sick. And so that would be the opposite end of it.
Or I do have aches and pains and I refuse to take the medicine because I'm holy.
Right, right. It's irrelevant to the mind and the choice for the Holy Spirit, which is the only choice we keep teaching over and over again. The only decision that needs to be made is the decision for the Holy Spirit. In the practice that we're doing, He doesn't care what we do with the body.
Dave, were you going to say something?
Yeah. Let's see. 6 months ago or something like that, I was, I forget what it was I was holding, but it was heavy and it had a sharp edge. And I dropped it on my foot just for recreation. No, I'm kidding. I accidentally dropped it on my foot, and it hurt like hell. And I forget, what I was reading. It was about guilt and pain and whatnot. And I said something to the effect of, I tuned in on the idea of not being guilty, and I just said something like, "There is no guilt in me," something like that, and the pain went away like that. It just went gone, and I went, "What?" That
Wow.
did that really happen? And I started to doubt it, and it came right back.
Nah. I'll show you.
I'm sorry, say what'd you say?
Nothing, it's okay.
Okay. So anyway, I did that again. I said, "There is no guilt in me," and it went away again. And I kept thinking to myself, this is too good to be true. And then it slowly, crept back in. But I had the experience of realizing that guilt is very much associated with pain. At least it was for that experience. So anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Yeah.
I had that experience of going over the edge of a curb once with my ankle, and you know how sharp that is. And right away I said, "I have no need of this," which is, and really no need of this is exactly that. It's no need of the guilt. I have no need of this pain. And it went away instantly. And I mean, yeah, I wasn't thinking about it. I just said it, it wasn't like, "Oh, I'm going to do this." And, and that was an amazing experience. Yeah. If we get the association with guilt, I think that's the ticket.
Well, and he makes it sound like that's the case. And certainly, sometimes the pain doesn't go away. It might take on a different purpose.
That's true too.
So, let's look at page 18, because he addresses what we've been talking about. Page 18 in the manual, it's the second page in number 5, how is healing accomplished? And we're looking at, we can start with paragraph 2, line 12. The patient, whoever's in pain, could merely rise up without their aid, meaning whatever it is we're taking to feel a little bit better, either physically or emotionally, and say, "I have no need for this." But the Holy Spirit still might have a need for it. He still might. I don't have any reason to use the pain as a way of avoiding the guilt in my mind. That's what the physical pain, the spirit, any kind of psychological pain, emotional pain is always a distraction from the real pain in my mind, which is the source of the pain, the guilt. And he says that in the next paragraph. But it might not go away. That physical pain might not go away. Whenever I've worked on emotional pain, it seems like it has. But there's been times when the physical pain, I didn't focus on it so much, but it's not like it went away. It was still there. It still hurt like hell, but I wasn't invested in using it as an excuse to escape the mind. I was thinking some of the best talks I've seen Lynn give is when she's been in the middle of a migraine and nobody gets that at all. They think Lynn's like being like her usual, like gentle self and giving a really good talk, and they have no idea she's like having this migraine where like she's not even in there. I mean, it's like the waterfalls are coming down and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's possible to still have whatever and not focus on it. I think that's possible, and use it as an excuse, certainly, to keep us distracted from where the real sickness is. So, yeah.
Are you in Manual for Teachers, page 18?
Yeah. Paragraph 2. I have no use for this. It's in line 12.
Okay.
I don't have any purpose for it anymore. I don't have the purpose of distracting it from the guilt in my mind. And then to look at the guilt and say, that's the real issue. I don't have any use for the guilt anymore is what we're really trying to get to. And then he says there is no form of sickness that would not be cured at once. So the healing doesn't mean that the form of sickness is going to go away. The healing takes place when I realize the form of sickness has nothing to do with anything. That's the healing. Yeah. that it was never the body that was causing me pain or pleasure. It was always a choice in my mind to identify with the ego or the Holy Spirit. And that was the source of the pain. If I chose the ego and separation and pushing Jesus out the window, and the real peace or the real pleasure was asking the Holy Spirit to realize that I'm not a body. I'm not a body that can be affected by anything. So when he talks about there's no form of sickness that would not be cured at once, he really means there's no form of sickness, whether it's lower back pain or psychological pain, that I wouldn't surrender my investment in it and use it as a distraction from my mind and what's really going on.
That's good.
I mean, Ken died. I mean, his body died. He got cancer and he died. I mean, eventually all our bodies are going to die. If we're riding on, we're never going to die, that's probably not going to work. Like no suffering, no death. So, and then paragraph 3 is where I think it really brings it home. What is the single requisite for this shift in perception? Not this shift in not having pain anymore, but this shift in perception that the problem was never in the body, it was always in my mind. So it's about the shift in perception, not in getting rid of our physical and or emotional pain. It is simply this, the recognition that sickness is of the mind and has nothing at all to do with the body, just flat out. And we can't do that without the Holy Spirit, or we can't do that shift in perception without accessing some inner part of us that is our teacher of peace. So, and then line 3, what does this recognition cost? It costs the whole world we see. It costs our whole belief in a body that we think we are. For the world and our body will never again appear to rule the mind, meaning I think my pain's coming from my body. Yeah, I might still have physical pain, but the real pain was always guilt, and it was always separation. And now the Holy Spirit can use the pain, if I still have it, as a way of teaching me that. Whatever's going on with the body, whether seems to be in physical pain or it seems to be doing okay. So, line 6, he looks on what he chooses to see, no more, no less. The world does nothing to him. The body does nothing to him. He only thought it did. Nor does he do anything to the world, nor does he do anything to the body, because he was mistaken about what the body was. Herein is the release from guilt and sickness both, for they are one. Guilt and sickness. The only sickness is that we feel guilty for separation, and since that's not real, there's no guilt either. We're just making it up. Yet to accept this release from guilt, the insignificance of the body must be an acceptable idea. So it's always that. I always need to go back to this number 5 whenever I start getting slippery about thinking my body has something to do with me, whether it's in pain or it's in pleasure. Any thoughts about that, John?
No, I'm just sitting here saying there's no guilt in me and I have no need for this. I can't hear anything you're saying.
Oh, well, throw the book away now.
That's right.
Just do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Just go right to heaven.
I am healed.
Go ahead, Dave.
I had a question for you. You said that the Holy Spirit could use the pain. There's some place in the Course that says the Holy Spirit will never lead you into pain. And
yeah, but the only pain is in the mind. So he's not going to lead us into guilt, which is the source of pain for everything. But we can still have an experience in a body and realize it has nothing to do with who we are. So he's not talking, once again, it's a level confusion thing. If we think he's not going to bring us into physical pain, it's not what he's talking about. He's not going to take us into the real source of pain, which was always guilt, which was always in the mind. And then whatever the body's going through, it'll just become a classroom for proving that. When Ken was dying, he kept telling everybody he wasn't dying. And his body was dying, but he just was flat out, I'm not dying. I'm not going anywhere.
Because I'm not a body.
Because I'm not a body.
right.
So, I mean, it's not, and so the Holy Spirit in that case was using Ken and his body to show everybody around him that we're not these bodies that can suffer pain. I mean, the body looked like it was suffering pain. The body obviously looked like it died, but he wasn't his body.
Okay.
Yeah, like that. So it's always that level confusion. That's why I always go back to this number 5, because I can get real slippery with that in a heartbeat, especially reading something like this, lesson 136. So let's go to 136. It's on page 257 in the workbook. And I think it's time for me to get a little quiet. I actually go to 259, and I'll let Linwood read paragraph 15 as an opening meditation, and then we'll get quiet for a few minutes.
Just 15.
Yeah, just 15.
Okay. This is our aim today, and we will give a quarter of an hour twice to ask the truth to come to us and set us free. And truth will come, for it has never been apart from us. It merely waits for just this invitation,
Yeah,
which we give today.
that's okay.
We introduce it with a healing prayer to help us rise above defensiveness and let truth be as it always has been. Sickness is a defense against the truth. I will accept the truth of what I am and let my mind be wholly healed today.
And gently come back. So the opening title, a lot of this lesson is reflecting what went on in the previous lesson. And that in the previous lesson, basically, if I defend myself, I am attacked. And then he starts talking about sickness as one of the defenses we use to attack ourselves. And certainly on the level of form, those forms keep us distracted from what the real source is in the mind. And then another major theme in 135 is if I plan by myself, I attack. I attack you, I attack me. If I'm invested in planning at all, meaning I'm invested in the outcome of planning, I believe my peace rests on this plan working or not. I don't believe I'm already an innocent son of God connected with everybody, but the idea of being invested in any plan at all and invested especially in its outcome is that I've refused to believe I'm already okay. I'm already an innocent son of God, and now I'm off and running, and I'm going to point the finger at somebody. So it doesn't look like the plans that we make, the investment is always when whatever fails, I'll be able to point the finger at somebody and say, behold me, brother, at your hands I die. Behold me, brother, at your hands I suffer. Even if it's physical pain, I can pretty much find somebody to point the finger at. My job did it to me. My boss did it to me. You know, if only God did it to me. If only I didn't have to work at all, whatever it is.
So you're saying that the ego's plan is always my salvation is that you're the problem and I'm not, and that's really the underlying plan that the ego has for absolutely everything.
And so the conscious plan is, I think if I do this, I'll feel better. I think if I carry out this plan to keep you out of my face, I'll feel better. Or if I carry out this plan, whatever it is, I'll get something that'll make me feel better. So the unconscious plan, just under the surface, is when that fails, I'll be able to say, that's the reason I'm upset. That's the reason I'm in pain. So there's the conscious plan, but then there's the real unconscious plan that's looking for perpetrators, that's looking for victimizers all the time. Just below the surface, everything we're feeling, we're pointing the finger at somebody. And so this idea of plannings, eventually conscious plans fail. So in this, sickness is a plan against the truth. Sickness is a setup. Sickness is a setup to keep me distracted from the real source of sickness in my mind, which is guilt. And that way I stay preoccupied. Doesn't mean the form of sickness is going to go away. It might, and it might not. But the purpose of that form of sickness or that form of pain or pleasure changes if I'm doing it with the Holy Spirit. It takes on a whole different purpose. So it's not about what do I do, what don't I do, what plan do I make, what plan don't I make, but it's always who am I conjuring up this plan with. If any plan I make with the Holy Spirit is going to say, go through the motions and share with everybody that they're okay and you're okay. That's the purpose of any classroom the Holy Spirit has. It's always, you're okay, I'm okay. Isn't there a book called that?
There is.
Oh, it's called The Course in Miracles. That's right.
I think in the first or second page of the manual for teachers, he says all true spiritual paths point to one thing: God's Son is guiltless. That's the bottom line of God's plan. God's Son is guiltless.
And so the title itself, Sickness is a Plan Against the Truth. Anything we do in behavior, if we're invested in it as an outcome, is a plan against the truth. Not just sickness. Anger is a defense against the truth. You know, pleasure, if I'm doing it with the ego, is a defense against the truth. This is making me feel better, not God, not truth. I mean, anything just believing I'm a body, whether it seems to be sick or healthy, is a defense against the truth. The truth is I'm not a body. The truth is we're already all okay. And that's always the bottom line metaphysics, is the Son of God is guiltless. And he's not a body. The bodies are always guilty of something. They're always breaking down and failing each other. I mean, that's what bodies do. But if we're not bodies, it's not a big deal. So anything is a defense against the truth if I'm doing it with my ego. Everything I do as a separated son of God is a plan against the truth. That's how uncompromising all this is, but it also simplifies everything because it gives us an immediate way out. There's two words he uses in here that I never noticed before. Did you know flash healing is in here? Flash healing. It's like flash mob. It's like suddenly everybody gets up and dances. Well, this is what your whole spirit does. Once you shift and from the ego to the Holy Spirit. He actually talks about that. I got to show it to you because I couldn't believe it was in here. Paragraph 16 on page 259. Healing will flash across your mind once it's open to what the real source of the sickness is. Flash healing. And he can't help himself. He calls it on page 260, he calls it in paragraph 20, instant remedy. Nestle's Quit. I mean, all you gotta do is stir it up a little bit and flash, I'm healed. Instant remedy. I mean, it's not this whole drawn out process. We're the ones that make it all drawn out and painful. It's all we got. I mean, once we honestly, open-handedly shift to the Holy Spirit, then it's just, oh yeah, everything's okay.
It's like once we see the falsity of any idea, the light dawns on it and it's gone. I mean, that really is the process of what is often called insight, is you see it for what it is and it's gone.
Flash healing.
We could have flash healings at the Aurora Mall.
So the metaphor I was thinking of is like the light switch on the wall behind me. Like, I'll do everything. If I'm operating in ego mode, I'll do everything I can to slow me down to get to that light switch. I'll break a leg, you know, I'll trip and fall. I'll let Lynn get in my way. But once I get to that light switch and I open-handedly turn it on, it's flash. It's like the light's on. But I'll do everything I can in the process of not allowing myself to have that experience. That's why it has to kind of be an open-handed thing to turn the light switch on in the first place.
Interesting. I think of Mary Baker Eddy and her spontaneous remission from her chronic illness. And I don't know if any of you have ever read, well, Science of Mind sort of came from it, but what was her teaching called?
Scientology, I mean,
No.
Christian Science.
Christian Science, yeah.
Yeah. And she got it, you know, but you can't teach a flash, you know, there's just no way to do it. She really tried, but, you know, she was the one that had the experience that she could not be sick. It was impossible for her to be sick. And when that flashed upon her mind, she did have indeed a spontaneous remission from the diseases of which she suffered.
Yeah, and that's nice that the form went away.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Viktor Frankl, read his book. He was still in the concentration camp and he transcended the whole thing. Desjardins was still in World War I in the trenches and he transcended the whole thing. I remember this guy on NPR, he was in prison and he was in solitary confinement. And he had this amazing experience where he just turned himself over to God and everything changed, but he was still in solitary confinement. The outer circumstances didn't change, but I mean, it was like, he was just like alive and he was like connected and he realized everything in that experience. I mean, that's the real, like, believing I'm a body is the only issue, whether I'm in jail or I'm not in jail, whether I'm in a concentration camp or I'm not in a concentration camp, whether my body's in pain or it's not in pain. Believing I'm a body is the pain. And it's a reflection, it's a direct reflection of believing I'm a separated son of God. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's just period. Yeah, but, you know, we always want to go, yeah, but. So he talks about purpose in the very first paragraph on page 257. No one can heal unless he understands what purpose sickness seems to serve. So no one can plan with the Holy Spirit unless he's willing to understand a change in purpose here. We got to be willing to have another purpose. For then he understands as well its purpose has no meaning. That's what the Holy Spirit helps us look at. He helps us look at the guilt in our mind, all forms of sickness, i.e. believing I'm a body, period, is a reflection of that. And so that goes away if I take care of the guilt in my mind. If I look at the guilt in my mind with the Holy Spirit, meaning, and the guilt's only because I'm pushing him out of my awareness all the time. Once I begin to connect with the Holy Spirit, the guilt kind of begins to evaporate. Paragraph 2, sickness is not an accident. What did you call it, Dave, a little while ago? It was an oh, and you dropped that thing on your foot. It was an accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at first I said it was deliberate, and then I reminded, well, maybe it was deliberate, you know.
You were bored, so you needed something to juice things up.
That's how I spend my days, yes.
That's good.
Like all defenses, line 2, paragraph 2, like all defenses, it is an insane device for self-deception. So once again, bottom line, the insane device for self-deception is I believe I'm a body, in pain or not. That's the self-deception. And that permeates everything, whether my body seems to be in some kind of ill health or not. And like all the rest, everything we do in behavior is a defense against the truth. Anything I do and I'm invested in and I'm planning and I'm invested in an outcome is a defense against the truth that we're already okay.
That's why Ken's teaching always was, don't take this seriously. I mean, obviously we have to do something in the body, in the world, but taking it seriously is the indication we really, really believe we are here. So the best we can do is not take it seriously.
And like all the rest, everything we do in behavior, everything we do when we're invested in believing we're a body, its purpose is to hide reality, the truth, that we're one innocent son of God, attack it, judge it, insist we're not, change it. No, I'm not one son of God, innocent, and render it inept. Render reality inept. What a strange phrase. How do you render reality inept? Like reality can't affect anything. Look, I'm in pain. Look, I'll show you. Distort it, twist it, reduce it to a little pile of unassembled parts. How insulting is that? He's calling my body an unassembled part.
I love this.
Totally disconnected from other unassembled parts.
It's like,
don't you call me an unassemblable part.
oh,
Like text.
the aim.
The aim of all defenses, meaning especially believing I'm a body, is to keep the truth from being whole, to realize our wholeness, our oneness, our innocence is still intact as one son of God. The parts, the bodies, are seen as if each one were whole within itself. Oh yeah, I'll show you. My body's autonomous and separate from your body. In fact, if I can heal my body, I can be healed alone, which totally violates today's lesson. If I'm healed, the only real healing is in the mind, then I realize we're already all healed together. You can't heal yourself alone. I mean, you can take care of a symptom or two alone, but I mean, that's not going to take care of the real issue, which is always the guilt in our mind, which is keeping us believing we're separate. If I'm healed, I'm always healed with everybody. Because the only healing that can take place is looking at guilt with the Holy Spirit and letting it go. Questions, comments about that? Linda, you got anything?
You stinker.
What you got, Linda?
You know what? I don't know anything about anything. You know, and I'm better off when I feel that way. You know, I've never experienced what Lynn and Dave talked about with the physical pain, being able to, say,
F guilt.
I have no use for this, but I have with emotional pain.
Mhm.
And like we said, that's the same. So, one thing that I wanted to ask you too, and I don't really know if this is related to it, but somewhere in the book I remember reading that we will eventually get to a point where we go through a period where you say, the world's not real. I'm already in heaven. It's already a done deal. Why am I trying so hard? And then that kind of gets you kind of
In the right
discouraged, or whatever word you want to use for it.
That's the atonement, Linda, that you're talking about. That's the atonement. Nothing happened. I get it.
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
Yeah.
I'm just focusing on things that don't exist and trying to fix them.
And it was so helpful when you said that about, because I have a harder time connecting with the fact that I'm the Son of God. But when I can say I'm the decision maker and all I have to do is choose again, I connect to that real easily, and I know the decision maker is who I really am, who is really the Son of God. But it's a leap. It's a lofty leap still. And if I can just go to, I'm the decision maker, well, I can do that easily. Because does that make any sense? I mean, is it just another step?
That's the purpose for the decision maker. It's like that little bridge, but now we have something in our sights. We have something in our sights that we know we can do, which is we can make a decision for the Holy Spirit, and we can turn away from all the trying to fix and work on what isn't real in the first place. It's the maladaptive solution to a non-existent problem. Why bother with it? But that has to be clear in our mind before we can do it. And then really get it and say, okay, now it's clear in your sight, your line of sight.
It goes over the process of making these decisions as a decision maker and then totally forgetting that we did that. Totally forgetting that we were the decision maker and totally forgetting that we made the decision to choose something like this, to believe that we were something separate and in pain and suffering because of it.
We have to see how
I mean, he talks about this process that it happens seemingly so quick that we totally forget we did it. Like all we can see now is the distraction. I'm in pain. My body hurts, whether it's emotional, physical, whatever. And so he talks about this process like this is what you do every time you make a decision to believe you're a body. This is the choice you're making. And then what sustains you believing it is you absolutely refuse to admit that's possible, that you chose this. And this is what he says in paragraph 5. It is this quick forgetting of the part you played, of the decision you made, of the plan you chose. It is this quick forgetting of the part you did in making your quote unquote reality as a separate son of God that makes defenses seem to be beyond your own control. I mean, just to admit the possibility that maybe I am a decision maker and I actually chose something this stupid is a huge step. I mean, and if we continue to stay in pain, it just means I'm still choosing a different plan than the Holy Spirit's. Line 2, but what you forgot can actually be remembered. We can actually go back to that awareness that we chose this and let it go. Given willingness to reconsider the decision, which is doubly shielded by oblivion.
Where are you?
I'm in paragraph 5, and that was line 2. But what you forgot, meaning that I chose all this, and maybe there's another choice that could be made. I have to be willing to reconsider the decision. Well, that's what I mean. Like I'm dragging myself across the floor trying to convince myself to make another decision, but until I actually get to the light switch and turn it on, it's not gonna like flash heal me. I'm not gonna have this instant remedy until I really go open-handed towards this possibility that I'm actually making this decision. I could choose something else. And the double shield of oblivion is, when consciously I think I'm a body and I think I'm in pain because my body is doing stuff to me, or your body is doing stuff to me. And then beneath that, the other shield, the real shield of oblivion, is I've cut off the Holy Spirit. I'm identifying with a separate self, and I don't even want to admit there's a Holy Spirit in my mind that I could choose. So I shut down not only that I'm a decision maker, but I shut out the Holy Spirit totally, and now I believe I'm running around as a body, and this is why I'm in pain. So that's the two shields. And the double shield is that the dream as a body is always shielding my dream as a decision maker that's chosen the ego. But that's always the secret dream. That's the primary dream. That's the only dream, really. And once I get back to that, even if I still continue thinking I see bodies and everything, I'll know they're not real. You're not remembering. And then he's kind of saying, it looks like we forgot, but it's not really that. It's a constant decision to choose the ego, to choose autonomy, and then blame it on something else. Line 3 in paragraph 5, you're not remembering is simply the sign that this decision to choose the ego, to choose autonomy, and to blame it on my being a body remains in force. Remains intact as far as your desires are concerned. There's still a part of me that's desiring all this. The secret of salvation is but this, that I realize I'm doing this to myself. Mistake not this for fact. Mm-hmm. Meaning, don't believe you're actually a body. Don't believe this is just something you had nothing to do with. Defenses must make facts unrecognizable. And he's talking about real facts here. We're still one son of God. We still have a right mind. We still have the Holy Spirit, but we deny all that stuff. We make all those real facts, capital R, unrecognizable. We don't know we're still one son of God. We don't know we have a Holy Spirit. We don't even know we have a decision maker that chose to do something this silly. Defenses must make facts unrecognizable to us. We're always hiding this from ourselves. They aim at doing this, and it works for a while anyway, until we give them up. But we aim at hiding this stuff from ourselves, and it is this that they do.
That's the ego's plan. So clear and simple. Make facts unrecognizable.
Chris, you still there in Fort Collins? Yeah?
He's unmuted. He's
It's
unmuted.
muted.
Oh. I can't even unmute you. You're so holy now. I can't even turn you up.
He's doing something.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Oh, he's back.
You just tipped upside down.
Man, look at him. He's like all over the place. You look like you're on one of those rides at the amusement park.
All right. It's the power of the phone.
All right. So paragraph 7 on page 258. So, he just keeps reiterating, obviously, like he does through the whole course,
Bam, bam.
over and over what we're actually doing. Paragraph 7, sickness is a decision. It's our decision. It's your decision. It's my decision. It's just a decision. It is not a thing that happens to you quite unsought, which makes you weak and brings you suffering. It is a choice you make, a plan. He uses the word plan in this lesson a few times, not as many as in the previous lesson. But as sickness, any defense is always a plan. Plan.
Yeah, see, I got it.
No, I can't.
That spider webs on Gotta spend some time out there.
Chris, can you mute yourself? I can't. I have no control. I've lost control here.
We can't control you, Chris. You need to mute yourself.
I've never had anybody like do that.
He's muted.
Jeannie, what did I do wrong? It is a choice you make, line 3, a plan you lay down for ourselves. When for an instant truth arises in your own deluded mind and all hell seems to break loose, all your world appears to totter and prepare to fall. I mean, we based everything on our separation, everything. Doesn't look like that. We certainly don't admit that. But if we start letting truth in, if we start letting the Holy Spirit in, it challenges everything we think we think. It challenges that we think at all. And what we're thinking is we're always deciding who's the bad guy. And now you are sick, that truth may go away and threaten your establishments no more. The thing about being sick is that it's always inherent in that is I didn't choose this. It's being done to me. Even separation on some level, I feel like, separation was done to me. I didn't choose separation. Separation was done to me.
I tend to think of sickness more these days as an idea in the mind. And, obviously we don't choose specific sicknesses. Like I don't choose specifically, I want to have a backache now. But the idea that I'm maimed, the idea that there's something wrong with me, and somehow it's in my best interest or in the ego's best interest to project that idea of I'm weak and helpless. And sickness is a great way to do it. It's the go-to thing to prove that I am separate and that I am weak and vulnerable and falling apart, whatever. So ideas help me when I start thinking more broadly as an idea. I don't know if that's helpful to anybody, but.
Yeah, he really, the idea that everything's an idea. Yeah. I mean, he really laid that down in chapter 5. He calls the Holy Spirit an idea. He says God's an idea. He says you're an idea. And it's all just an idea of separation, or it's an idea of wholeness. And since the idea of separation is impossible, you're not who you think you are.
Right.
Paragraph 10, always taking it back to us, such as your planning for your own defense against the truth. And you believe that heaven shakes, quails before such mad attacks as these, with God made blind by your illusions. Truth now turned into lies, not real facts, and all the universe made slave to laws, the laws of chaos in this case, which your defenses would impose on the universe. Yet, who believes illusions but the one who made them up? I mean, if you make up an illusion, and you decide to believe it, I'm not going to believe it. And vice versa. If I make up an illusion, like on the spot, like whatever, like I'm 5 years old, like I could believe that probably, but you're not going to believe it. The only person that believes illusions is the one who made them up and then insists on they're true. Choose your favorite political guy who's doing that.
One of my favorite gravestone cartoons is this. It's one of those little small sort of arch gravestone, obviously very old, and it says, "Clarice, I told you I was sick." It's like, we will die to prove it. And that's what we're doing here on planet Earth. We're dying to prove that we're sick and there's something wrong with us.
And it was the other guy's illusion to believe I wasn't sick. And now I'm dead, see? You're the only one that was believing that illusion.
It's like, may your guilt be eternal, Clarice.
Yes, exactly. Behold me at your hands. I die, brother.
did die.
You did this to me. You put me here.
Oh.
Yeah.
God, we are sick. You got 5 minutes.
So I think 12 is kind of like Jesus is trying to be nice. So he talks about the simple truth. Our reality is a done deal. All this is made up. And at some point, we'll wake up to that. Such is the simple truth. It does not make appeal to might nor triumph. Like, you know, it's not saying I'm going to win and the ego's going to lose. Well, since there ain't no ego, there ain't nothing to lose here. The ego can't triumph because it's not real to begin with. God doesn't triumph. There was no unreality to triumph over.
I have this image of coming with empty hands before our God, but coming naked, meaning without defenses. Sickness is a defense, worry is all these things are defenses. And when we lay down our defenses, we are simple. We're simple children. We're just simple, innocent, and without defenses. We're also beautiful, radiant children. It's the defenses that are, keeping us from our own awareness of our own simplicity.
Paragraph 12, line 4, truth merely wants to give you happiness because you've already got it. You just pretend you don't. For such is its purpose is. Perhaps it sighs a little. This is where I was like, Jesus is just being nice here. Other places, he says, God doesn't even know about any of this. It's a little insulting. But here he's at least saying God sighs a little sometimes. He goes, oh, God, they're doing it again.
Here we go again.
Oh, God, they think they can really die. Oh, God, John thinks he has lower back pain. I mean, whatever it is.
I always love the line that is starting to make sense to me now in the teacher's manual. How will the world end? It will end in laughter. And we did this to ourselves. Oh my God.
She's having a flash healing. I don't know what to do with her when she gets like this.
Hey, Jim, I think we're done.
Yeah.
How are we going to be serious after this?
It's too late. She's not coming back.
I might have to leave. Oh my goodness.
So
Have a happy birthday.
Yes, it is a very happy birthday. You know, there are glimmerings coming through.
Yes.
so I'll let the birthday girl read paragraph 20 as a closing meditation.
Paragraph 20. All right.
Page 260.
Let's see here. I have tears in my eyes. Wait a minute. I can't see. All right. Give instant remedy should this occur. By not allowing your defensiveness to hurt you any longer. Do not be confused about what must be healed, but tell yourself, I've forgotten what I really am, for I mistook my body for myself. Sickness is a defense against the truth. But I'm not a body. And my mind cannot be sick. And my mind cannot attack. So I cannot be sick.
And gently, gently come back. Look at Jesus over Linda's head. It's all this bright light like pouring in around you in the back. She's, look at that. She's
Well,
gonna,
these highlights are pretty nice.
Yes, yes. Everybody's looking really radiant this morning. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
one.
you. Bye.
Bye.
adios, y'all.